Here we go. Recording.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Pretty good. You?
Wrapping up a Friday.
Yep. Crazy Fridays.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, how can I be helpful for you?
Well, first I want to ask, I just want to reconfirm that you are okay that I'm recording this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I have a couple questions I would like to ask about police and their mental health and what we can do to help bring more awareness to that.
Okay.
So, one of my first questions is what are some of the current mental health resources that police officers get?
So, first off, we're speaking generally, right? Not
Yeah.
not VA specifically, just in
No,
general
just in
terms what law
general.
enforcement
Yeah.
is. So, one of the first foundational things that we try to do in law enforcement now is from inception. So while they're in the police academy, they receive a pretty significant block of training that has to do with mental health of police officers, overall wellness of police officers, right? So
Okay.
recognizing that the job itself is very difficult and there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of challenges to it. And some of those challenges are not ones that you would necessarily realize at the time, but they build over time, right?
Yeah.
Long-term exposure to trauma. So it's understanding that, hey, folks, you are starting a career in an occupation that exposes you to a lot of stress and trauma, and you need to be aware of that. And then discusses the importance of recognizing when that is becoming a problem, recognizing, being short-tempered with your kids or your wife or your drinking habits, self-medicating, all that kinds of stuff. And then also talks about strategies. Try to eat well, try to work, have some level of exercise or activity, uh, you know, get support from your peers, spend time doing things that are away from and separate from police work and law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what happens, especially with younger cops, is they get hired. They're all their buddies are cops, so they're at work or they're hanging out with their buddies talking about work and all, like it just, your occupation becomes your identity.
Yeah.
And that is not always helpful in the mental health arena. So that foundational training is important. And then most agencies utilize what's called a peer support program
Okay.
now, where they take officers at various ranks to support the various levels of an organization and they train them. It's a formal training program to provide peer support. So peer support is basically one person who's experienced a similar thing, working with another. They're not counselors, they're not therapists.
Yeah.
They don't provide that role, but they're there basically to just help people talk through things and maybe nudge or guide them to appropriate resources. So they're not a therapist, but you may have a meeting with your peer support person and they may say, you know what, you got a lot of stuff going on. Have you thought about getting some therapy or whatever? Um, or financial guidance on how to help dig yourself out of a divorce
Yeah.
or maybe accessing substance abuse. And it's a protected space where folks can come, express what's going on with their career and get some guidance on where they can go for more help, professional level help
Yeah.
with that. And then from the agency, like the executive level, like so where I sit,
Mm-hmm.
when we look down at our organization, that's where we're really looking at it to say, like, are we doing enough to educate them? Probably the biggest thing that we're aware of right now, is suicide prevention.
Yeah.
Police officers have very easy access to weapons, and access to firearms is always a tricky thing when you're dealing with suicide.
Yeah.
And again, people deal with tremendous amounts of trauma in their career, right?
Yeah.
So you have the worst day of your life. You call the police, they come, and that incident gets managed.
Mhm.
For you, that's the worst day of your life. To
Yep.
those officers, that's their Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So they're moving on to the next
Yeah.
thing, and they accumulate this lifelong career of experiencing terrible things, and it ends up building on you. There's emotional scars that happen.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because like you said, they're experienced to this on a daily. So I couldn't imagine how tough that would get when it grows upon itself.
Yeah, and it happens in the background, so you don't fully notice it
Yeah.
until later in life, right?
Yeah.
So I'll share a story with myself.
Okay.
So in my professional career, I've had a couple uh, incidents that I've dealt with infant deaths.
Oh,
Terrible scenarios to deal with, right? You have the incident itself, what you see, what you hear, conversations with the parents, very difficult thing to do, but you're doing it. So you do it and then you move on, and there's always something else to do. So you don't really have time to focus on it.
yeah.
Well, 20 years later, you have a kid,
Yeah.
and your kid starts eating solid food for the first time, and they choke a little bit. And then all of a sudden, all those memories come fluttering back, right? And you end
Yeah.
up in this hyper alert state of panic every time your kid puts a piece of food in their mouth,
Yeah.
right?
No. Yeah.
And then you start acting like a lunatic every time your kid tries to eat solid food. So, how does your wife react to that?
It's not gonna be well. It's gonna be.
Your
Yeah.
wife is like, "What's wrong with you? This kid has to eat. You're being ridiculous." And then
Yeah.
you react to your wife, and then now this spirals into this thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of looking at how do we make sure folks are keeping tabs on that
Yeah.
before it gets to the point where it's hard to deal with.
Yeah. That makes sense. You mentioned the resource where other officers are trained about like how to talk. Could I get some more
Yep,
insight on that? Like, what would they go through? What are the steps to like be able to talk to other officers about that?
sure. So they're called peer support programs,
Ah, yes, thank you.
and they are there's a few different models that exist that most agencies follow. The primary model that is followed is through an agency called the International Association of the Chiefs of Police.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard of them.
So what's happened is, leaders across not only the country but the world put a lot of energy and resources into building best practices.
Yeah,
So what is the training consist of? Who is the ideal candidate to be a peer support? What does that process look like? Is it internal to the agency, external to the agency? What is the requirement of mandated reporting with things associated with that, right?
yeah,
Um, if some guy comes to work and he's goes to peer support and says, I'm drunk half the day at work and I need help with that. Does that peer support person need to report that, like, or not? And these are things that agencies like the International Association of Chiefs of Police, or IACP, is the model. So if you were to do some research and you Googled IACP peer support,
yeah,
you would be able to read a lot of information about these programs and how they're put out.
yeah.
But that's probably the primary agency that helps with that um, part of it.
Okay. I have some more questions, obviously, but my next one would be that do you think that these resources are enough, or do you think maybe more resources should be available to them?
So, I mean, that's kind of a trick question, right?
Yeah,
Because you're dealing with something that involves the wellness and potential, like, massive impact to anything. So is it ever enough, right?
probably
It's
not.
like me
Yeah,
saying, do you have enough money or would you like more, right?
yeah,
So we have to find a balance. So ultimately, I'm a I'm in an executive position with a law enforcement function. What's my primary function?
Making sure that everything goes like well and keeping track of everything there.
Right. So the protection of people and property, uh, identifying violations of law, enforcing them, and introducing those folks into the judicial system for prosecution, right?
Yeah.
So that's where my focus needs to be. Peer support would be a support function of that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
In order to do that, I need to have healthy police officers, right?
Yeah.
In order to make sure that the police officers are able to deal with stressful situations, which are either emotionally stressful or stressful because of the danger associated with it, I need them to be able to perform.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't want people to end up suicidal or have massive substance abuse programs or anything else.
Yeah. No.
So that's when we look at how many resources can we put into a peer support program, because at the end of the day, peer support is an important part of the agency's organizational health.
Yeah.
But I can't put more resources into providing peer support than I put into providing the primary function of
Yeah.
the agency or mission.
Yeah.
So I think that right now there's a pretty decent amount of focus on peer support,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a reasonable effort on police suicide prevention. I think if I would say, in my opinion, could we spend more energy and resources on any particular part of it, it would be the suicide prevention part of it.
Yeah. Okay. That also answers my third question. Yeah. Which was, what would you put more focus into if you could?
I think the suicide prevention part, again,
Yeah.
it is massively impactful to everybody involved, and the emotional and financial cost associated with it is tremendous and through the
Yeah.
roof. So um, we're asking people to put themselves in situations that over time potentially shape them into people that are going to react poorly to stuff. So we need to
Yeah.
take care of them outside of it.
Yeah. Uh, like some of the stories that have been like gaining traction of like these police officers acting irrationally. Do you think like that could just be because of the stress building up and such?
Sure. I mean, I think what's an important thing to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Police officers are no different than any other human being.
Yeah.
They're a human being that has specific training. And as a result of that training and background, they're given authority that other people don't have, which is to make arrests and to use force and do that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're just people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like anybody else, right? I'm sure even you experienced it, right? If you have a lot of stuff going on, if you have, school processes coming in and problems with peers and
Yeah.
issues, you're not playing as well on your sports team as you want to play, and a few of those things are going on at the same time, and now something happens, maybe you react a little different or
Yeah.
more extreme, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you, like being a parent with young kids,
Mm-hmm.
there's times where my kid has like knocked over their milk and spilled it all over the floor.
Yeah.
It doesn't even impact. It's like, oh, whatever, like it, wipe it up. It's just milk. But then there's other times where that happens, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened, right?
Yeah.
So it builds.
Yeah.
The difference is with police officers, and a lot of it depends on where you work and the kind of community you're in. You're dealing with conflict
Mm-hmm.
all day long.
Yeah.
So there is a level of exhaustion that comes with that. And the other part of it is you are hyper vigilant all day long.
Yeah.
Um, and that is exhausting.
I can't imagine that. A lot of the schoolwork is it can pile up, especially around like midterms and stuff. But to have what I would be assuming is like midterm or finals level stretch, a stress year long, I couldn't imagine that.
It can build.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to have the peer support programs, but it's also, every job and occupation has its own stresses. The difference is with some occupations, clinical providers, public safety professionals, other, things like that is if you're burnt out and stressed and not performing well, it can have negative impacts to the community.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for my next question, when I was doing research for this topic, I came up with uh, the fact that some agencies have their officers required to get evaluations every so often. I was wondering, do you think the amount of time in your experience that is between each evaluation is too short, too long, or just right?
Um, so what you're talking about is annual psych evals,
Yeah.
and depending on how those are done,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's different models. So there are providers that are going to do these and they're going to really look at the big picture, and they're not only going to look at what's happening now, but what's happening over the course of time and situationally what's going on in that environment.
Yeah.
And that's probably more helpful, right?
Yeah.
But there's also psychiatric evaluations that are you going to kill yourself or somebody else in the next
Yeah.
24 hours, right?
Yeah.
Are you showing up to work drunk or high?
Yeah.
And if the answer to that is no, then they rubber stamp it and you move on.
Yeah.
Those are honestly probably useless.
Yeah.
So where I think the real value is, the periodic assessments establish a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you really want to look for is reasons to do those assessments outside of those periodic reevaluations. So do, in essence, do it for cause, right?
Yeah.
So potentially a supervisor notices that a police officer is not acting like they normally would act.
Mm-hmm.
They know he's going through a divorce. They know, they notice that he's coming to work late, that he's, talking about going out drinking with his buddies all the time. He's doing whatever. Now that supervisor person should say, like, hey, we should probably do a check-in with this person,
Yeah.
right? Because maybe at that point they can intervene and, you know, put some kind of mitigation strategy in place before this person's life just completely derails
Yeah.
itself,
That
right?
makes sense.
Or or that person completely derails somebody else's life because they're having a bad day and can't manage their stress.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So when I thought of it, I thought maybe we could like shorten it to get more baselines, but would that have an impact, or do you think that would be counterintuitive?
So I'm going to give you the perspective from me,
Yeah.
but you already know this, but I'm going to disclose it. I'm not a medical professional, right? I'm
Yeah.
not a psychiatric mental health clinician. I'm not a medically licensed person.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is anecdotal. Typically,
Mm-hmm.
I am in the opinion of when they do a psych eval, you are looking at that moment in time,
Okay. Yeah.
not anything else. So we're aware in the industry of people that have passed a psych eval and then a week later killed themselves or their wife, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I don't know that more frequent psych evals would lead to a better outcome of anything.
Okay.
More training for supervisory staff and peers to recognize concerning behavior and then provide them guidance on how to intercede with that, I think would have a better impact.
Yeah. That makes sense. I might have already asked this question in like a different terms, but what do you think is the biggest issue in regards to police officer mental health? Like, is it the constantly building stress? Is it the outbursts that you say that they have, or is it something else?
So I think there's two things that stick out to me.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is in an effort to train our police to be safe,
Mm-hmm.
we highlight all the dangers that they're going to face on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, when I went to the police academy, we spent 4 hours in a dark room watching videos of people jumping out of cars and killing cops on traffic stops, right?
Yeah.
So what we did in that room was teach a room full of cops to expect every person they pull over to jump out of a car and shoot him and
Yeah.
kill him.
Yeah.
And the outcome of that is their the anxiety level goes through the roof, the stress level goes through the roof, and they're
Mm-hmm.
yelling commands and their life is a danger every time they pull a car over.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody intended that, but that's what the outcome of it was.
Yeah.
So I think when you're dealing with these things, little calls could end very badly, very quickly, right?
Yeah.
So you constantly have that, uh, again, that hypervigilance, which I
Mm-hmm.
think over time wears people down.
Yeah.
The second thing is it is a very unique experience to be a police officer.
Yeah.
To put handcuffs on somebody and put them in the back of the police car and to criminally charge them, to use force against somebody, to be treated and judged terribly because of the career that you've chosen or what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's a very unique scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult to talk to other people that haven't done that
Yeah.
and
No.
aren't in that scenario, right? And there's no desire to that. So there's not a lot of cops that are coming home and offloading their stress to their wife in a healthy way,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Or husband. There's plenty of female police officers
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Obviously. Yeah.
But there's not like if I have a really terrible day, I'm not going to go home to my wife and be like, "Oh, how was your day, honey?" "Oh, it sucked. Some guy put a gun in my face, and then, I slipped on the ice trying to help somebody, and I twisted my hip." And all of that stuff is overarched
Mm-hmm.
by this feeling that you're a warrior. You are this person that's supposed to be tough and indestructible.
Yeah.
So when you do slip out of your patrol car and twist your hip, you don't want to tell anybody about it because you don't want it to impact the perception that you're the tough guy, right?
Yeah. I'm going to
So I
assume.
think those
Oh,
things are the biggest impacts
yeah. I'm gonna
that
assume
cause.
that that story was also anecdotal, but who knows?
Just saying.
Yep. Um. So, would you say that these programs would are better at a local level or like national level or even world level?
So anything you do
Mm-hmm.
becomes more challenging to do when you scale it,
Yeah.
with the exception of like commodity procurement, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I want to buy pants, it's easier to buy 100,000 pants than it is to buy one pair of pants, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the best model for this is that it's operationalized locally,
Mm-hmm.
but guidance and best practices are developed, you know, at a larger scale, whether that be
Yeah.
nationally or internationally.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah. And then one of my final questions is what can the average person do to help with police mental health, if anything?
It's hard because
Yeah.
when the general public is dealing with the police,
Mm-hmm.
it is usually not for a good thing,
No, it's
right?
not. Yeah.
Um, Either something bad has happened, often life altering, or even if it's something very minimal in the police officer's eyes, to you, it's probably not, right?
Yeah.
Pulling somebody over and giving them a ticket to police officers is a relatively non-stressful situation.
Yeah.
But to the person who got pulled over and got the
Mm-hmm.
ticket, it's a terrible scenario, right?
Yeah.
Very
No.
stressful.
Yeah.
Um, so it's hard because the people that are interacting with the police that have the biggest impact
Mm-hmm.
aren't in the position to act at their best either, right?
Yeah. No, they're not.
But I think generally, if we as a group of people said, hey, we're asking these people to do things that we don't want to do,
Yeah.
right? We're asking them to put themselves in danger. We're asking them to work terrible schedules that impact their ability to see their families.
Mm-hmm.
We're exposing them to uh, dangerous things, not only, you know, obvious danger like
Yeah.
gunshots injuries and
Mm-hmm.
car accidents, but trauma, accumulated trauma, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're asking these people to do that. So let's go above and beyond and just try to be kind and understanding
Yeah.
to them, right?
Yeah.
And remember that they are, again, I told you earlier,
Mm-hmm.
police officers are people.
Yeah.
We don't get capes, right?
No.
I don't get like this magical superpower to go there. So
Yeah.
when you're experiencing a situation that scares the crap out of you and you feel like it's dangerous for you, so you call for help. Well, when I get there,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same as you.
Yeah.
So it's still dangerous to me. It still scares the crap out of me. The only difference is I have the training, equipment, and authority to try to handle that
Yeah.
where you don't.
Yeah.
But the outcome could be the same for either one of us, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not bulletproof.
Yeah. And the average person isn't a therapist and can't like talk to someone about their feelings in depth.
No.
Yeah.
And again, they don't necessarily even understand how some of that stuff could be stressful,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Um, and police are a relatively small group of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the 600,000 ish, if I had to guess,
Yeah.
in the country.
That
That's a
that
small
does.
number.
That's very small in comparison to the population we have here.
Yeah.
And then my last question is, in your opinion, what is the most limiting factor for police to get help with their mental health?
Uh, Probably the perception that openly admitting that you have a mental health program
Mm-hmm.
or a problem
Yeah.
could cost you your career,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So the fear that accessing help for mental health would prevent you from carrying a firearm or acting in that role
Mm-hmm.
is a problem.
Yeah.
And then second to that is the sorry, my dog here, my
Nah, nah,
popping
completely
his head up
fine.
on a chair. Second to that is the police culture,
Okay.
right? We're
Yep.
tough guys, we're warriors.
Mm-hmm.
We do things that nobody else wants to do.
Yep.
You know, we get training in how to breach doors and take down bad guys and do all this super sexy macho stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard to admit that, you know what? I'm totally burnt out and
Yeah.
stressed out from the last 5 years of my life. And, I should probably talk to somebody about that.
Yeah.
And then the secondary problem of that
Mm-hmm.
is it's really hard to talk to a therapist sometimes about job related stress because they don't get it.
Yeah. No.
They don't understand it. So
Yeah.
you tell them what you're feeling, and there sometimes the responses are just makes you more stressed out.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything like sometimes heard that some people don't want to get uh, mental help because of stigmas around just mental health in general?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really ties into the two things that I
Yeah.
said, right?
Yeah.
It's the stigma of damaging your image that you're
Mm-hmm.
this tough warrior
Yeah.
guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm the sheepdog. I fight what you fear. All of
Mm-hmm.
the silliness that's there.
Yeah.
Um, and also the stigma of what it could do to your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for all of this. This is really helpful. I don't want
Yeah,
to.
no problem.
Yeah. Just gonna double check, make sure I didn't miss a question. Nope, I don't think so. Yeah. Well, thank you for all your help again. Anything else
Yeah,
you
no
want to?
worries. I wish you luck. Is this for like a paper or what are you
This
doing with
is
this?
for civics and it's a like a final project, more or less.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an important topic, so it's
Yeah.
cool to see young folks paying attention and even knowing that that's something that's on the radar. So I would really encourage you to I would point you in the direction of the ICP
Okay.
and try to find some documents there and even believe it or not on YouTube, there's a lot of really good videos on police peer support programs.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else you want to add before it's
No, I
over?
think that's it.
Okay. Well, thanks for making time in your schedule.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to help.
Thank you.
Take
Happy
care.
holidays and see you around.
You too.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.